Stop. Do not scroll. I need you to hear me. Whatever you were doing 1 minute ago does not matter anymore, because this moment right here, this exact second you pressed play, was not your decision. Something older than your mind and deeper than your instincts pulled you here. You felt it, that tug behind your ribs, that whisper in your blood that said stop. This one is for you. You are not browsing, you are being intercepted. And if you leave now, you will spend the rest of the night wondering why you did. Chosen one, you just flinched, not because those words are strange, because they are familiar, because somewhere underneath the exhaustion, underneath the doubt, underneath the years of pretending to be ordinary, a part of you has always known. You carry something the world has no category for, something that makes you ache in rooms full of people, something that kept you up at 3 in the morning last week staring at the ceiling, not because you were anxious, but because your spirit was scanning for a signal. It has been waiting for its entire life. This is that signal before your mother knew your name. Heaven had already spoken it. Before the doctor counted your fingers, angels had already counted your assignments. There was a conversation about you in the courts of eternity. Not about humanity, not about your generation, about you, your specific wiring, your exact fingerprint of fire, the way your voice would crack when truth hit your throat, the way your eyes would water in worship before your brain could explain why. Every detail, every fracture, every scar planned, not by cruelty, by precision. Because what you are built to carry requires a vessel that has been tested by everything and still chosen to burn. You have always sensed it, that you were different, not better. Different. You could read a room before the first word was spoken. You could feel a lie before it finished, leaving someone's lips. You knew things about people that made you uncomfortable. You dreamed things that came true and told no one. And for years, maybe decades, you tried to shut it off. You tried to dull yourself down, drink it quiet, work it numb, love it away, but it would not stop, because you cannot mute what heaven hardwired into the marrow of your bones. That restlessness keeping you up at night, that ache in your chest that has no medical name, that grief that floods you on an ordinary Tuesday for no reason at all. I need you to hear this clearly. That is not depression. That is not disorder. That is the scroll sealed inside your spirit, pressing against the walls of a life too small to contain what you were encoded to release. You were never designed for routine. You were designed for revelation. And right now, in this moment, the code is activating. Let me tell you what the enemy already knows about you, because he has read the same scroll. He saw your name circled in heaven's war room. He watched your birth with dread. He sent confusion early, shame early, betrayal early. He attacked your childhood because he knew if you ever woke up to what you carry, his entire operation in your bloodline would collapse. That is why the trauma hit before you had language for it. That is why the loneliness came before you had theology for it. That is why you have been fighting battles since you were 7 years old that most people never face in a lifetime. But here is the part that wrecks the darkness you survived. You should not have, by every metric of this world, you should have been finished. The depression should have won. The betrayal should have buried you. The abandonment should have made you cold. But something in you refused to die. Something in you kept burning even when there was no oxygen left. That was not willpower. That was the seal, the ancient mark of heaven that says, "This one is mine, and no weapon formed against them will finish the sentence." You have been walking through this world like a wounded soldier, but heaven sees you differently. Heaven sees the oracle underneath the ache, the prophet hiding behind the panic attacks, the king buried beneath the self-doubt. Your wounds were not random. They were assignments in disguise. Every scar you carry is a word in a language the spirit realm reads fluently. And right now that language is being translated into power. If this is hitting something deep in your spirit, if your hands are shaking or your eyes are burning, do not scroll past this moment. Drop a comment right now. Say, I am the one who was sealed. Not for me, not for the algorithm, but because your words become anchors when you declare it in writing. You are not just commenting, you are staking a claim in the spirit over your own life. And hit that subscribe button, not to follow a channel, to stay in the frequency that heaven is using to wake up the remnant. This matters. Now let me go deeper, because what I am about to say is the part most people are not ready to hear. You were not just chosen for yourself, you were chosen for your bloodline. You are carrying prayers that your grandmother whispered into ceilings at midnight. You are holding visions your grandfather had but never had permission to speak. You are the answer to intercessions that are older than your family tree. That heaviness you feel, that weight on your shoulders that no vacation can lift, that is not burnout, that is inheritance. Generational fire packed into one vessel. You are the one your ancestors were waiting for, the one who would finally break the loop, the one who would stop the cycle of silence and shame and self-destruction and say no more. Not on my watch, not in my bloodline, not through my children. That is why everything tried to stop you before 30. That is why the enemy front-loaded your suffering, because he knows that once the carrier of generational breakthrough hits their stride, centuries of bondage collapse in a single season. The curses that held your family for 400 years are being dismantled in your lifetime. Not because you are perfect, because you are positioned, and you said yes when everything inside you was screaming to quit. You keep asking God why it took so long, why the doors kept closing, why the relationships failed, why the career never felt right, why every room you entered felt like wearing someone else's clothes. But what if none of it was delay? What if all of it was divine filtration? God was not blocking you. He was protecting the assignment from premature exposure. You do not put a newborn flame in a hurricane. You shelter it, you hide it. You let it grow in silence until it becomes the kind of fire that wind cannot kill but only feeds. That is what your isolation was, not punishment, incubation. That loneliness you wore like a curse was actually a cocoon, and the cocoon is splitting now. You can feel it. The old skin does not fit anymore. The old friendships feel hollow. The old distractions taste like dust. Your spirit is outgrowing every container that was never meant to hold the real you. This is not a breakdown. This is a becoming. You are not falling apart. You are being disassembled by heaven so you can be rebuilt without the compromises, without the masks, without the survival identities you created to make it through a world that could not handle your unfiltered presence. They called you too sensitive. Heaven calls you prophetic. They called you too intense. Heaven calls you anointed. They called you unstable. Heaven calls you ascending. Every label they put on you was just a mislabeled gift. And now God is peeling off the wrong names and whispering the real one. You are not who they said you were. You are who heaven wrote you to be, and that name shakes thrones in the invisible realm. I need you to hear this next part with everything in you. You are not preparing for something. You are already in it. The activation did not begin with this video. It began the moment you survived what was meant to destroy you. Every tear was a page turning. Every breakdown was a breakthrough in disguise. Every night you lay on the floor asking God if He even heard you. He was writing the next chapter of your scroll in the ink of your own tears. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are not disqualified. You are exactly where the timeline of heaven says you should be. The people who were supposed to be in your life left because they could not go where you are going. The doors that closed were not rejection. They were divine redirection, and the silence you have been sitting in is not emptiness. It is the pause before the thunder. So stop waiting for permission to rise. Heaven is not going to send you an email. The sign you have been looking for is the fire in your chest right now. The sign is the tears streaming down your face as you hear words you have always known but never heard spoken aloud. The sign is this moment, this breath, this knowing that you were not random, and your suffering was not wasted, and your life is not small. You are the disruption, the anomaly, the correction. You are the one the systems cannot predict, and the darkness cannot silence. You carry a sound that rewires atmospheres and a presence that makes counterfeit things crumble. You were never supposed to fit into this world. You were sent to flip it. Now rise, not the way trauma taught you, not the way the world rewards. Rise the way a sealed one rises, with stillness in your soul and thunder in your bones, with tears still wet on your face and fire already burning in your hands. Rise knowing that everything you walked through was building this exact version of you for this exact moment in history. If this word pierced something in you that you cannot explain, leave a comment. Say the scroll is open, not for engagement, for alignment. Because when the chosen ones start declaring in unison, the atmosphere shifts and heaven takes notice. Subscribe so you do not lose this frequency. Share this with someone who has been fighting in silence. You will know exactly who needs to hear it. Their face just flashed in your mind. That was not coincidence. That was assignment. You were seen before you were born, named before you were known, chosen before you took your first breath. And nothing, not time, not trauma, not hell itself, can revoke what heaven already sealed. Now walk like you remember, because you do.